Okay, very good. Anne, you are next on my screen if you'll introduce yourself.
Okay, hi, I'm Ann Walgamot and I'm with NACF and I am the new treasurer.
Well, it's very good to meet you. Thank you for being here. Jennifer.
Jennifer Trentine from the Northwest Alliance Community Foundation. Oh, sorry, Jennifer O'Neill.
That's okay.
I too am sitting in on my first orientation, though I've been part of the organization for a number of years.
Very good. And that's my apologies, Jennifer. There's two Jennifers on the call. So Jennifer O'Neill, you're next.
Yep, I'm Jennifer O'Neill. We seem to have a trend here because I'm on the River Falls Community Foundation board. And I've been on the board a year. And I think this is my first orientation. I must have conveniently forgot it last year. So,
Or it wasn't offered during transition. That could also
probably,
be.
that must be it.
Well, let's blame St. Croix Valley Foundation and not our lovely volunteers. Okay, Cecily, you're next.
Hi, Cecily Harris, and joined the Stillwater Area Community Foundation in July. Hello, everybody.
Thank you, Cecily. Tom.
Hello, Tom McCarty with the Stillwater Area Community Foundation, and I've been a member since 2021.
Very good. And Katie.
Hi, Katie Cole with the New Richmond Area Community Foundation, and I have been on the board for about a year. I joined in January of 2022. So
Very good. And I just realized there's two Katies too. So sorry about that.
sorry.
Katie Johnson, you're next.
Yeah, Katie Johnson. I've been on the Amory Area Community Foundation board for about a year.
Nice to meet you, Katie. Okay, Jacob, you're up.
Hi, I'm Jacob Groh. I'm on the Stillwater Area Community Foundation board, and I've been to one board meeting, so brand new.
Very good. And Steve, you're next.
Hi, I'm Stephen. Is my mic working?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm Stephen Peterson. I'm a new board member for the Northwest Alliance Community Foundation near Siren and Webster.
Very good. Nice to meet you, Steve.
Nice to meet
And
you.
Yes, Christine. Oh,
Hi, I'm Chris Mueller, and I'm with the Northwest Alliance Community Foundation and joined just about a year ago.
very good. Nice to meet you. Okay. And I think, Alex, is that you?
Well, how are we doing? Alex Burrian with the River Falls Community Foundation. I've been on the board for just under 2 years.
Very good. Well, what great representation we have here today. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate it. And let's get rolling. Okay, so before we dive in to this meaty agenda, I wanted to give you a quick heads up that the orientation process does continue to be a work in progress. Many of you said you've been on the board for a bit and never been oriented, and that's not surprising to me. We are trying to better understand how we can supplement what's called the CF Express videos, and that's training you're going to hear more about later. But we subscribe to it and make those videos available to our affiliates and our board members. So we're just trying to understand how those help you all get up to speed and what we can do to supplement them. So this is my first time presenting this information in this way. So my ask of all of you today is to really be thinking about how to improve the orientation process, any information that may be missing, and we'll just continue to make it better. Sound good? Okay, moving on. So what is a community foundation? They're rather complex beasts. This is a quote from the originator, the founder of the first ever community foundation, world's first community foundation. His name's Harris Goff from the Cleveland Foundation. And this kind of sums it all up. He really thought an individual who was about to make a will could go to a permanently established organization and say, here's a large sum of money. I want to leave it to be used for the good of a community, but I have no way of knowing what will be the greatest need 50 years from now. Therefore, I will place it in your hands to determine what should be done. So that kind of sums up what he thought of a community foundation should be back in 1914. Okay, these are a couple of other quotes that I've heard since starting with the foundation. The first, a community foundation is a community's savings account. United Way is the community's checking account. So that's one way to think of it. Another way, community, and I think some of our affiliate board chairs heard this at the most recent council meeting. Community foundations have the privilege of operating at the nexus of generosity and need. So I'm doing a little matchmaking. So one thing to know for sure, or the one takeaway for today, is that community foundations are especially committed to building endowed philanthropic assets, okay? Assets that will be in and support a community forever, endowed assets. One thing I should also say, if you have any questions, because you're now very small on my screen, just please interrupt me or put something in the chat, and I will try after most slides to say, are there any questions about that? Any questions about that so far? Okay. Here's a little bit more meat around what is a community foundation. Obviously, we are nonprofits. We're dedicated to improving the lives and well-being of people in a very defined geographic area. Community foundations are also supported by many unrelated donors. That's as opposed to a private foundation that usually has, a family that's supported that private foundation. Again, focused on building endowed funds. Geographic area, grant making is not limited, it's very broad, but again, focused on that geographic area. Any questions before I move on? That was kind of the community foundations broadly, what they're all about. Any questions on that? Focused on building endowed assets, a community savings account. Okay, good. It looks like everyone's tracking. Okay, so now more into St. Croix Valley Foundation, our history, our mission, and our service area. So the St. Croix Valley Foundation was founded back in 1995, and the story goes, and I think it's more than a rumor, that a large estate gift, kind of like we were talking about on that very first slide, of one of the Anderson Windows executives left and went to the St. Paul Foundation. And so area community leaders were just up in arms saying that estate gift should have stayed here and supported our communities right here in the Valley that we know that executive loved. And so those leaders got together and developed a foundation right here in the Valley to accept those complex gifts and keep those philanthropic contributions very local to support our beautiful region. So that was back in the early 90s, and we were officially established in 1995. Since that time, our mission has remained very constant, and that's to enhance the quality of life in the St. Croix River Valley, in the St. Croix Valley. And we serve through all of our affiliates, all you wonderful affiliates. We now serve 6 counties. This is a map of our service area that I have pulled up. So 4 of those counties are in Wisconsin. You can see we've got Burnett, Polk, St. Croix, and Pierce in Wisconsin. And 2, we actually crossed the river over into Minnesota, 2 counties in Minnesota, Chisago and Washington counties in Minnesota. And we do that through our 10 affiliate foundations. 7 of those affiliates are here in Wisconsin. Northwest Alliance, you're represented. Amory's represented. Somerset's not here tonight. New Richmond is represented. Hudson's not here tonight. River Falls, you are here, and Prescott Foundation. And then we have Chisago Lakes, Stillwater, and Lower St. Croix Valley Foundation in Minnesota. So that's our service area. We'll dig into that a little bit more later. Since our founding, the St. Croix Valley Foundation, including all of the affiliate funds, has grown to over $77 million in assets with close to 500 funds. And since our founding, we and our donors have awarded over $40 million in grants. And that's primarily to organizations right here in the St. Croix Valley. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later as well. So that number, sadly, if we had hosted this orientation a little over a year ago, we were nearing 100 million and pretty excited about that. And obviously things have taken a dip, and I know all of our affiliates feel that as well as you watch your own endowed funds decrease. So what does affiliation mean exactly? Well, since I started with the foundation, I've heard the St. Croix Valley Foundation called many things as it relates to our affiliates. I've heard it's called the umbrella organization. I've heard it's called the parent company or parent organization. But as I've learned more about our relationship, I like to think of the St. Croix Valley Foundation as being the root system. So this one right here, of a big, beautiful tree. So we, the St. Croix Valley Foundation, are behind the scenes helping our affiliates do the big, beautiful work out in community. So the St. Croix Valley Foundation, I also like to think, and our affiliates are truly partners providing mutual benefit to each other. We leverage your expertise, your knowledge, your energy, your relationships to have even a larger impact in our region. And in turn, the St. Croix Valley Foundation provides all the back office support. So the staff, we provide the systems. We have a brand new fancy database. So we have that we keep updated with your donor and your contact information. We have all the policies, procedures, and of course, we're making sure that we all keep our charitable status. So legally, and this is interesting, there's one governing board, and it's the St. Croix Valley Foundation's board. And then we have 10 affiliate advisory boards. So your boards go out in community, do your work, and the recommendations you make come to the St. Croix Valley Foundation board, primarily rubber stamped to say, yep, they're doing good work. And that's how that works. So digging a little bit more into affiliate advisory board duties. So it's interesting with 10 affiliates, and I've been working with affiliates now for almost a year, since about mid-December of last year. And I've learned so much, so thank you. But our affiliates are at all different levels on a spectrum. The very minimum that is required of an affiliate is that you're giving away those endowed dollars so that you're making grants in your community. That's the very minimum a board needs to do. And we have some boards that's all they do. They meet 1 time, 2 times a year. They look at how much they have available to grant. They put together a competitive grant program with our help, and they push that money out the door. Okay, so that's the very minimum that's required, is that you have an advisory board that's making grant recommendations with your endowed funds. We also hope that you'll recruit board members so that you'll maintain an active roster of board members, and that you'll also consider helping with asset development work so that we're all raising money to benefit your communities and the region as a whole. Some affiliates, and some of you are on the call, operate other programs, we'll talk about them more tonight, that really respond to unique needs in their communities, or maybe support the nonprofits in their communities a little bit more deeply beyond just grant making. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So again, the very minimum that an affiliate board, advisory board does is make grants to community with their available to spend. Okay, St. Croix Valley Foundation board and staff, but the governing board, our responsibilities include making sure that we're filing all the required state and federal reports, including the audit, the 990, to make sure we maintain our charitable status. We're charged with the financial and investment oversight. We process and acknowledge all the gifts that come in. Again, I mentioned the database earlier. We maintain that database, and that includes all of our affiliate records and donor data. We help with the grant processes. Most of you now are using our online portal, which is wonderful. So we help administer those processes and process all affiliate grant recommendations. So we get that money back out the door. We support as we are able and hopefully invited any asset development work that's going on out in affiliate communities, including gift solicitation and helping establish new funds. We support as needed affiliate board meetings. So I love to get out into affiliate community and attend those meetings if you want me there or need me there. And then we also support affiliates with promotional strategies. So we help with annual appeals if needed and wanted. We help with press releases, event invites, events in general, etc. So that's a quick overview of St. Croix Valley Foundation Board compared to the affiliate boards. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later. Any questions about that? Okay, so moving on. This is our staff team. There's 9 of us now. We've grown quite a bit even since I've been here in the past 9 years. And this is all available on our website. But Heather's our president. I hope you meet her. If you have not yet, you will very soon, I'm sure. Emily is our director of finance and operations. There's me. Katie is our accountant. Sally works a lot with our donor advised fund holders and processes our donor advised grants. Heidi helps me with grants, and she's also works on our scholarships. Ellen is our marketing person. Stacy does everything. You know how that works, right? She does a little bit of it all, as do most nonprofit employees. And then Andrea is our newest staff member, and she's charged with major and planned giving. And again, I hope you're able to meet them all very soon. So let's talk a little bit more about you all. I want to pause again for a second. If you have any questions so far, holler. So far, so good? Okay. So our 10 affiliate boards, again, they really run the gamut. They're all so different, all so unique, and all really wonderful, comprised of local leaders. And what I like to say is we need our affiliate boards because you're the ones that have your finger on the pulse in your communities. You know what's going on, and you can let us know how best to respond, or you can best respond to what's going on in the communities. So Amory, I think I've got these in alphabetical order in my note. Yeah, Amory Area Community Foundation was founded in 1984, initially as a community trust, and then they came and affiliated with the St. Croix Valley Foundation in 2008. Chisago Lakes Area Community Foundation was founded in 2008, and they serve primarily the Chisago Lakes School District. The Hudson Community Foundation was founded in 1999. The Lower St. Croix Valley Foundation, this is kind of interesting. They initially were founded in 1996 as the Afton, if you're familiar with Afton and Afton Alps, as the Afton Community Fund, and they were over at the St. Paul Foundation. They then affiliated with the St. Croix Valley Foundation in 2009. They serve the communities that are in Washington County, but south of 94. Then we have the New Richmond Area Community Foundation. They were founded in 1980 and affiliated with the St. Croix Valley Foundation in 2012. The Northwest Alliance Community Foundation, I believe, is our newest affiliate, founded in 2014, and they, look at that service area. They serve all of Polk and Burnett counties, or I shouldn't say all of Polk, half of Polk. It's north of Highway 8 in Burnett counties, so huge service area. Prescott Foundation was founded in 1989. They initially were the Prescott Fund and the Prescott Educational Foundation, and then they merged and became an affiliate of the St. Croix Valley Foundation in 2013. The River Falls Community Foundation was founded in 1999. Stillwater was 2012. Oh, sorry, Somerset was 2012, and Stillwater was founded in 2010. Stillwater serves the communities north of 94 in the Stillwater School District. So again, affiliates lead work in their own communities, and they're all so unique. You're all so unique, and we work together to serve the 6-county region. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. You know, interestingly, a lot of our affiliates started off as funds, where there was a member of the community that said, kind of like the guy at the beginning, gosh, we need something right here to be able to accept gifts and respond to community needs. And so they set up a fund, a community fund, and slowly transitioned into more of an advisory board that was doing more programming, et cetera. So yeah, it's been a genesis of sorts. Any questions about our affiliate St. Croix Valley Foundation history, the roles, responsibilities? Everyone's feeling pretty good. You're all so small on my screen. I'm just looking, scrolling down. Okay, everyone looks, your eyes aren't too glazed over yet. Okay, all right, good. We'll keep rolling then. Okay, we're gonna go back to a little bit more about this complex animal that is a community foundation. Many in the community foundation industry reference a three-legged stool, kind of the three roles of a community foundation. And those are asset development, so this whole managing charitable funds, so asset development, nonprofit support, so grant making and assisting nonprofit with capacity building needs. So that's that second leg. And then lastly, community leadership. And that's programs, convenings, things you do out in community to get people together, to learn and to respond to community needs. So those are the three legs of the stool: asset development, grant making or supporting nonprofits, and then community leadership. Okay, so we're going to dig into those legs of the stool a little bit more deeply. And here's where we get pie charts and numbers, which usually I turn this slide over to Emily, our Director of Finance and Operations. But today you get me, so I'll do my best. And feel free to raise your hand and ask questions if I lose you at any point. So you see, we talked a little bit about the 77.5 million in assets. With the foundation, that includes affiliate assets as well. A large portion of our assets, in fact, over 90%, are endowed funds. Okay, we talked about that was the primary goal of a community foundation, is to raise endowed funds that are available for community forever. So again, an endowment is a permanent fund that provides a perpetual income stream. Okay. Contributions to an endowed fund are invested. I don't know a lot about that part, and thank goodness we have a wonderful finance and investment committee. And then a portion of the earnings are made available each year, and that's called the spendable or available to grant. People call it different things. So a portion of the earnings are made available. So it's really important to note that it's not the earnings that are available each year for distribution, because obviously not every year do we have earnings, correct? Including this year. Rather, it's a calculated spendable that takes the average balance of the past 16 quarters and multiplies it by 4.5%. So that calculation helps to ensure that even in years when the market's not performing well, that there's still funds available for distribution. Okay, so again, it's not the earnings that are made available, it's a calculated spendable based on 16 quarters worth of market balances. I got a lot of questions about that this year when spendables were calculated. Hang on a second, how do we still have money available if the market's done so poorly? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you said that the earnings are not available, but a calculated percentage of our big pot of funds. So are the funds currently invested in the stock market?
Yes, and I can send you the investment strategy if you're interested in seeing that. I can absolutely send you that after this call, but they are invested, and we actually have different categories that the donors can choose to participate in. One of them, and we just launched this portfolio last year, is an SEG portfolio.
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
I didn't say
Sorry.
anything, but I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry, I thought I heard someone. An SEG portfolio. So that's, I'm absolutely happy that's social, environmental. So that portfolio is more socially and environmentally fund conscious.
Yeah.
So that portfolio was made available to our donors, I think it was last fiscal year. And then we have our normal portfolio, and I'm happy to send that information. Not the person to talk about it live in a Zoom session, but happy to send it to you after the call. And I can also show you our returns in that same email, Steve, so that you
Yeah.
can see how we've done the last
Yeah.
year, 5 years, and 10 years.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Okay,
Just
absolutely.
to clarify, then the donors are given a choice of investing their contributions in one of these two funds.
Exactly, and one of the two portfolio options.
All
Yep.
right, thank you.
Yes, and Anne,
Could you send that to all of us, please?
absolutely. In fact, I'll plan to send this PowerPoint as well as that investment information as a follow-up to this call. Great, thank you.
Question for Angie. Alex here.
Yes.
In regards to the asset manager, is that decided on by the St. Croix Valley Foundation board in terms of who they have managing those assets?
Exactly. Those investment
How-
decisions. Mhm.
How frequently do they assess the asset manager and vote on whether they should stay with them or, kind of shop that?
I know it's a very formal process, but I'm not sure how often they do that, Alex. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. But I do know that a review happens, and that the board, well, first the Finance and Investment Committee does that official review and then makes a recommendation for our board. And I'm happy to get you that information. If Emily were here, she'd have it at the tip of her tongue. So I will follow up on that. I'm just making a note. And we did, once we hit 50 million, our Finance and Investment Committee said, hey, we're all volunteers, and trust me, they're all very knowledgeable volunteers. But they thought it was time that we have some external guidance. And so we do now partner with a group called Fund Investment Group, and they help advise us on our investment strategies and they make recommendations. So for that committee. Okay, good. Any other? I knew the most questions would come on the slide that I knew the least. So thank you for your patience. I will be following up with additional information. Okay, so we're going to dig into the pie chart now and what comprises that 77.5 million in assets. So the St. Croix Valley Foundation and our affiliates have 7 different types of funds that we offer to donors, so that philanthropic decisions that they make can be really appropriate to what they're trying to accomplish through their philanthropy and based on their personal preference and passion and circumstance, all those things. So super different than a traditional nonprofit where, the donor gives the money, the nonprofit operates a program or provides a service or whatever it may be. A community foundation gives donors these 7 funds to choose from to accomplish their philanthropy. So these breakouts here, this pie chart includes St. Croix Valley Foundation assets and affiliate assets. So they're all lumped into one bucket, okay? So first of all, you can see the biggest slice of the pie at 43% is nonprofit agency funds. That's 43% of our total assets. So nonprofit organizations establish agency funds to take advantage of St. Croix Valley Foundation's investment expertise, our economies of scale, our capacity to accept complex gifts, and the ability we have to offer some of those non-tangible nonprofit support mechanisms, such as donor matchmaking, board education, et cetera. So St. Croix Valley Foundation handles the investment and administration of these nonprofit funds, allowing the nonprofit organization to really focus on its charitable mission. And then these endowed funds create a long-term funding source for that nonprofit's programs or capital needs, operating needs, et cetera. So 43% of our assets are other nonprofit assets. I think that always surprises people. So one of our biggest nonprofit agency funds is Carpenter Nature Center. They have a campus both in Minnesota and in Wisconsin. But many churches, libraries, non-arts organizations have set up their endowed funds with the St. Croix Valley Foundation, so they just don't have to worry about it, and they can really focus on their own mission. So that's 43% of our assets. Ian.
So just to be clear, those are not endowed funds. Those are just funds available to those nonprofits, but they are invested through St. Croix Valley.
Exactly. So, and they're endowed. Yep. So they too
are endowed.
Yep. They are endowed agency funds. So primarily that 43% is primarily endowed. So that means that the nonprofit can, just like affiliates can, pull a spendable from that fund every year. That's made available to them. Does that make sense, Anne?
Right, but they cannot, it's not like they're investing it in Fidelity or something. They can't pull the whole amount out.
Exactly. Yep. It's endowed. And once an organization is endowed, the saying I heard when I started here was, once an endowed fund, always an endowed fund. It's really hard to get at endowed assets once they've been endowed.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to move on, but please, I'm trying to, again, I have little nuggets of thumbnails on my screen, so I'm trying to watch for hands being raised. Okay, the next biggest slice of pie is donor advised funds, and that represents almost 19% of our total assets. I'm sure you've all heard of donor advised funds. Essentially, a donor advised fund is an individual or a family or a business foundation sets up a fund with the St. Croix Valley Foundation. It provides that donor with some tax advantages, and then also they're accomplishing their philanthropy through that fund. Once that fund is established, fund advisors, the donor advisor, can recommend grants at any time to any eligible charity. So a lot of our donor advised fund holders recommend grants to organizations they always support, whether it be their church or their favorite nonprofit arts organization, whatever. But this also gives us the opportunity to talk to that donor and help them understand or maybe identify other needs that may align with their philanthropic interests. So again, we're not recommending any grants around that. That's 20% donor advised, and they're making the decisions about where those dollars are granted. Okay. Next slice of the pie is donor designated fund. Those actually look really similar to donor advised funds, but they make the giving even easier because they just designate when they set up the fund. I want grants to be made every April to my church or to another charity. So they designate at the time that the fund is established where those grant dollars should go and at what time. So again, St. Croix Valley Foundation does not decide where those grants are made. Next slice of the pie is scholarship funds. Oh, Mary, did you raise your hand? Huh?
Yep, quick question. For those donor funds, is there a minimum amount that donors need to establish that fund?
There is. I'm going to pull my, so the minimum amount is a $10,000 minimum for both donor advised and donor designated. That's also the minimum, Mary, since you asked for our nonprofit agency funds. The next slice of the pie is 12%, and that's scholarships. So scholarship funds are exactly what they sound like. The minimum to set up a scholarship fund is actually bigger. It's $25,000 because they're generally more administratively burdensome. we'll say. So obviously a scholarship fund allows a donor to help students further their education. Really, the donors can set these up to look however they want. They can fund preschool experience to vocational school to postgraduate work. They can choose a field of study. We have a lot of scholarship funds being set up right now to support the trades. So they can set it up around a field of study. And then we work with them to set up the criteria, how we're going to receive applications, how we're going to promote it, etc. And I think right now, we have over 40 unique scholarship funds throughout our service area. So yeah, that represents 12% of our assets. Next slice of pie, blue 8%, is the field of interest funds. So a field of interest gives donors the opportunity to target their contribution to one, or I guess more, areas that they care about most. So they identify the cause. Let's say, I really love the arts. I feel passionate about music. I really want to support mental health. So they identify the cause, and environment is another one. And generally the funds are pretty broad in scope. And then that allows staff, volunteers, affiliate board members to identify the organization that's doing the best work in that field at that time. So it's broad in scope and allows you to find the organizations that are doing the best work. So usually there's a competitive process that's built around those field of interest funds, and I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit later. And then a really small slice of the pie, 5%, is our unrestricted or undesignated funds. And these obviously are established without restriction on how they should be used or can be used. They give the board, your board, our board, the greatest flexibility, of course, on how we respond to what's going on in our communities. And a good example of that, and is a part of this pie, are the Vibrant Communities funds that we raised, where we can then say, okay, what are we seeing as the greatest need? The last couple of years, we've said mental health, and we put together a grant program to respond. So those are our unrestricted assets. One last, I guess it doesn't even show up on the pie chart because it's so small. One last piece of pie is fiscal sponsorships. We do support local nonprofits by offering fiscal sponsorship and acting as a fiscal sponsor. So that means we provide fiduciary responsibility for a project that's not yet got its 501c3 designation. So we also have recently increased our fees on fiscal sponsorship funds because, again, they're very administratively taxing. And we were finding that that efforts, coalitions were wanting to not get their 501c3, just utilize us as that, and they would go on forever. So we increased our fees a little bit. Okay. Any questions on the types of funds or how we work with donors to support community? And I think I'll get into more about these funds a little bit later. And I'm watching the clock too. Okay. Affiliate funds. So again, your funds were a part of that pie. Just to make that clear, that was all of our funds mixed together. St. Croix Valley Foundation's job as the governing body is to support your asset development as we're able. That means helping you solicit gifts, establish new funds, and something to remember, and I know Heather wanted me to be sure to remind you all of this. Approximately 75% of new funds are from referrals. You know, so people just talking about the foundation and how we're able to help people solve tax problems, how we're able to help people, or how we're able to accept complex gifts, etc. So keep that in mind, especially from our affiliate boards, from professional advisors, etc. Those local relationships are just really key.
Angie, I have a question. Does the organization ever accept gifts of property?
We do.
Okay.
We set up about, it's when I first started, an LLC that's able to accept property and sell it and accept proceeds. In fact, Prescott Foundation just had a wonderful success last year, and it's highlighted, I think, in last year's annual report of some property that they were able to accept, sell, and now that's part of their unrestricted endowed fund. So, yep,
Yeah.
can
I
do
think
that.
that's I think that's a great idea, because there may be families that just have a ton of property laying around that they've had forever, don't really care about it that much, but someone else might. So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right,
Yep.
thank you.
Of course. Okay, so each affiliate, I've put on this slide, this is actually a screenshot from our donor portal. So each affiliate can access fund information within their family of funds. So this is just a screenshot. I picked on Stillwater, so this is the screenshot from their affiliate family of funds. Again, that St. Croix Valley Foundation does the investing and managing for. So each affiliate generally has funds that include an endowed fund. My cursor isn't really working. An operating fund. Stillwater is a little unique in that they have this long-term fund. And then I just mentioned the Vibrant Communities Fund. So generally speaking, within an affiliate family of funds, you have an endowed fund, an operating fund, and this undesignated Vibrant Communities Fund. In addition, you see this little box right here, this other funds. Sorry, it's rather small. I see Jennifer leaning in. So the advised funds, Stillwater Area Community Foundation advised funds, that's these. Stillwater Area Community Foundation and many of our other affiliates also has this bucket called other funds. So when we're working with a donor, hopefully alongside our affiliates, one question we always ask is whether that donor would like to be a part of an affiliate family of funds. So we're meeting with a donor, they're from Stillwater. We say, you're from Stillwater, you're passionate about Stillwater. Would you like this fund to fall under Stillwater's Area Community Foundation? Some say yes, some say no. What that means is that donor's fund, so let's say it's a donor advised fund, okay? They set up a donor advised fund. They say, yes, I want it to fall under Stillwater Area Community Foundation's umbrella. What that means is the affiliate can see the fund activity, so they can see contributions going in, they can see grants going out. That appears on the affiliate financials. The affiliate does not receive any fees on this fund. They generally don't make any recommendations on this fund unless they're able to softly do so, but they are able to see the fund activity. It's kind of strange, right? So let's say Jennifer set up a donor advised fund, said, I love Northwest Alliance, I want it to be under that umbrella. All it means is that the board can see it under their financials. They see all the activity, they see the balance. It means nothing else.
So the affiliate gets no benefit from it.
Exactly. No fees trickle down to the affiliate from those funds. Some donors really love that association. Again, I think it's that strong sense of community. Others prefer to keep that information really private, so they don't want the board to see that information, and therefore they directly associate with the St. Croix Valley Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, this endowed fund, the top one is the one that you're going to generally make grants from with that available to grant that we talked about. An operating fund, many of our affiliates have small operating funds from which they pay expenses for things like events or special mailings or, I don't know, websites, that kind of thing. And then this Vibrant Communities Fund is, again, a separate endowed undesignated fund that each of our affiliates has. Okay, so that's kind of a confusing topic. Does anyone have any questions about that? And I do want to point out, most community foundations who have affiliates do not offer this option to donors. This is very unique to the St. Croix Valley Foundation. It's a model that was developed right here. I'm not sure why it was before my time. It really confuses affiliates because they're like, why is this fund showing up on our list of funds? It's because that's how the donor wanted to associate with the foundation. And of course, we want to honor their wishes. any questions on this? Otherwise, yes, Mary.
Angie, I can think of one instance where that kind of geographical sorting was worked out well for Stillwater. There was someone who had a fund and then they were closing it down. And because it had always been in that designation, they took their last spendables and said, make a donation to our endowed fund. So, you know, that's an instance where because of that association, there was a connection down the road.
Absolutely. That makes sense, Mary. Thanks for sharing that. And of course, we'd always give the donor that option, whether they were under our umbrella or yours. You know, how do you want to use? Okay, we're going to move on. I've got a couple legs of the stool to go yet, but I'm still on assets. Okay, so just quickly, our fiscal year runs July 1st to June 30th. I mentioned at the start that we have 490, well, I said about 500. We have exactly 493 funds right now. Well, as of 6/30/22, we had 493 funds. Our fund statements are produced quarterly. Those summarize all fund activity, including your affiliate funds. That includes the fees that are charged, the earnings, the losses, as well as any gifts made or distributions made from the fund. I mentioned that we take contributions in a variety of ways. And I mentioned that we can process complex gifts. We process many forms of contributions, from cash to stocks, public and private, real estate, Steve mentioned earlier, bequests, charitable remainder trusts. Again, that's not my area of expertise, but just know that we can process and accept very complex gifts. Distributions are processed the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month by our accountant, Katie. And that includes grants, program expenses, etc. A community foundation, this is another thing that makes community foundations very unique. We generally don't go out and raise money to cover the cost of our operations. So the support of St. Croix Valley Foundation operations, so primarily the staff, that's our greatest expense, is generated from the fees that are assessed on our funds. Okay, so if you set up a fund, just like if you set up a fund most places, there are fees that are associated with those funds. And based on the type of fund you set up, that dictates how much those fees are. So just to give you an example, donor advised funds, 1.5%, and that decreases depending on the fund balance. So does that make sense? We generally say that we don't compete with other nonprofits to raise operating expenses, and we're generally, you know, not in the business of hosting big events to raise money. Your traditional nonprofit fundraising usually doesn't happen at a community foundation because we have those assets or those fees we charge on assets to cover our operating. Another reminder, some of our affiliates have treasurers, several do not. I know that's shocking to some affiliates because the treasurers do such good work. But that ultimate fiduciary responsibility really does lie with the St. Croix Valley Foundation Governing Board. And just know that you can always access financial information on your funds via that portal. Okay, I'm going to take a small pause here because I'm looking at the clock and we have about 9 minutes, but I know there's probably questions on this financial piece, so I'm happy to pause for a moment.
Angie, are you giving everybody access to the portal? This portal?
No, thank you, Jennifer. Excellent question. So the board chair and the treasurer of the affiliates have access to the portal, and that's it. And some treasurers give monthly reports based on the information from the portal. Those monthly updates will include the contributions and distributions, because those happen in the portal real time, but our fees and earnings or losses are only assessed quarterly. So really the quarterly fund statement is the best way for a treasurer to present the most accurate information. Okay. I'm going to move on and I'm going to get through the next 2 legs of the stool in 8 minutes. Okay, so we have the 3-legged stool. So we just talked about the big chunk of a community foundation's business is really asset development and management of those assets. The next 2 legs are first supporting nonprofits, and we do that through grant making. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the grant making we do. Donor advised and donor designated grants. Last year, our donor advised and donor designated grants for the foundation as a whole, so including affiliates, those funds granted almost $6 million throughout our region. Then we have the St. Croix Valley Foundation Field of Interest Funds. We talked about those Field of Interest Funds. Those support competitive grant programs that operate throughout our 6-county region. And again, those were established by those donors that had a passion about a certain cause. And we operate currently three competitive grant programs. I'll talk about those more in a second. Then most of our affiliates, I think actually all 10 of our affiliates last fiscal year operated their own grant making programs, competitive grant making programs to get your endowed funds out into communities supporting your local nonprofits, which is great. Also, I was excited that most of our affiliates moved those processes to the new online portal, which I think has been really slick, not only for you as reviewers, but also for the nonprofit applicants and for us as the back office support. One thing to note, again, because the St. Croix Valley Foundation is the legal governing body, affiliates make the grant recommendations and then St. Croix Valley Foundation approves them. It's a rubber stamp. I've never seen St. Croix Valley Foundation decline an affiliate grant recommendation, but just something to keep in mind. A recent example, Alex, well, and Jennifer, they're both on the call from River Falls. We had a really interesting situation in River Falls where they recommended a grant. It was a really solid program. And when we went to process the check, that nonprofit failed the charity. We always do a charity check that makes sure that they're legal essentially, and they failed. And it's been a real rigmarole, hasn't it? River Falls. So anyway, that's our job, is to make sure we're doing all that behind the scenes due diligence to ensure we're keeping you all legal. So something to keep in mind. And again, grant making through scholarships. And in fiscal year 22, I knew I had these numbers in here somewhere. Our scholarship programs awarded over $400,000 last year from 67 unique scholarship funds, assisting almost 300 students here in the Valley. So pretty cool. And then capacity building. So currently St. Croix Valley Foundation has a program that helps nonprofits. It's called Consultants in Service. What we do is we have a cadre of almost 15 volunteer consultants. So they have expertise in a variety of topics, and we match those consultants with nonprofit needs. So a nonprofit says, gosh, we really need someone to come in and help us with strategic planning or fundraising. We're launching a capital campaign. We need some help with that. We take those volunteers and match them with that nonprofit, and voila, we've helped support that nonprofit. Some affiliates also do some really wonderful capacity building work in their communities, and I'm going to call out Northwest Alliance here. They have a fabulous program. It's called Nurturing Your Nonprofit, and they generally have multiple series or presentations throughout a year and get their nonprofits together, which I think is half the fun. You know, I think they appreciate that more than anything. It's just opportunity to network. So yes, that's how we support nonprofits. Oh, just really quickly, I'm gonna pretty much skip through this slide, I think. I mentioned that we have our Valley Impact Fund. So we have these 3 competitive grant programs. One supports music ed, one supports the arts, and one supports health and wellness, most recently focused on mental health. But I want you to be aware of them, because not only do I appreciate your help promoting these opportunities when they're available, but know that these grants are going to nonprofits in your communities, which is cool. And since their founding, we've granted about 1.7 million. I think I didn't include some of the unrestricted grants that we've done. Okay, I'm really speeding up here. The third leg of the stool, community leadership and convening, is the last role that a community foundation can really step into. St. Croix Valley Foundation's dabbled in this work. It's staff intensive, so we've dabbled in it. I won't say we've done it very well, but the program that's most well known is called Conversations of the Valley, which since COVID has moved to a Zoom programming. It's how we call out issues in our region, bring them to the table, get people there, and hopefully get them thinking about it and maybe doing something about it. So we shifted those, like I said, to Zoom in 2021. This year we are you're probably going to hear about it next week. We're about to launch our series. The first one is on January 11th on regional resiliency. So more to come on that. It's going to be a 4-part series that talks about how we can be, or what does it look like to be a resilient region. Our affiliates have done great work around community leadership. Northwest Alliance had a super environmental series they did this year. Lower St. Croix Valley Community Foundation, if you've ever been down in that neck of the woods, they have a great bike path, and that's because of that community foundation. They worked across multiple municipalities to make that happen. And then Hudson Community Foundation did a series on 2 series, one on heroin and opioid prevention and one on mental health. So I feel like our affiliates have done better work with community leadership than we have. We can learn from you. Okay, I'm going to keep going.
Angie?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Have any of the affiliates or St. Croix Valley ever done anything on affordable housing and leading any sort of group getting together to discuss that?
Oh, we sure have talked about it a lot. And yes, our affiliates, again, have done better work convening around affordable housing. We're definitely a part of the conversation and at the table, but we haven't led anything. I think, Christine, the main reason we haven't led anything around it is we don't have financial resources to then do something about it at this point. But I think affordable housing will definitely be a part of the COB conversation this year with the regional resiliency topic. Yeah, excellent question. Okay, resources. So this, I think we're almost done. Oh, we're really close. So again, I'll send this to you all along with the other things I wrote down as a follow-up to this session. Our website is a great resource, Password Toolbox. Many of you have already visited that because you've had to fill out paperwork. I wonder if this will let me show you. Is it letting me show you, or are you still seeing the PowerPoint?
We're seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay, yep. So that's okay. So you can log in here and there's a special button that you can click that says for board members and the password to enter that password protected areas toolbox. And there's resources in there for our affiliates. CF Express, I mentioned that earlier, we subscribe to this. It costs quite a bit for us to subscribe to this every year. And there's a series of videos and they're excellent. They cover everything from affiliates to grant making to many of the things we talked about today. Usually in the, which is next on the resources list, usually in the monthly affiliate newsletter, I highlight a video. This month, try to watch this one just so it's on your radar. You don't have to watch them, but they're interesting and helpful, I think, to get people up to speed. And that, again, the password is Valley. And then lastly, keep an eye out for the affiliate newsletter. I'm sending it out a little later this month because, well, actually it's going to go out really early next month because I wanted to highlight the COV information, which is coming together, and because there are a few reasons why. But keep an eye out for it. It's chock full of good information. And I really love to hear from affiliates. If you have something that you want to include on that, something that you've done that you're proud of, let me know, because I love to share your successes in that newsletter. And then obviously the staff team is here anytime you need us. Okay. Whew. That's it. Please, if you have any questions, besides the excellent questions you've already asked, now's a great time. Otherwise, feel free to email me. Anything right now, though? Okay. Well, it sure was nice to see all of you. Thanks again for giving up an hour of your day today for this, my first test run presenting this information. I'm all ears. If you have suggestions, please email me or call me, and I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, you're free to go. Enjoy the snowy evening.
Thank you, Angie.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really good to
Thanks,
see you all.
Angie.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.